Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is a Zwift Community Live broadcast of the tour of Watopia. We are out on stage number 5 for the tour of Watopia. This was a surprise stage throughout the entirety of the month of October. For those in, well, I don't know. Actually, I am unsure about the holidays across the entirety of the world. I was told in Germany they don't celebrate too much when it comes to Halloween, but happy Halloween to anybody that does celebrate Halloween out there in the world. I think most of the world does, right, Dave? I'm not sure. I'm Nathan Garrett. Dave Towle. Gabriela's gonna be riding with us. I think this person next to us is gonna be the one that's most educated as to all the different countries where Halloween is celebrated. But Gabriela, where? Brazil?
I'm going to say it's an American construct.
Is it mainly?
Yeah,
probably.
If you look at it, the
Well,
legend of
Germany,
Sleepy Hollow.
and in Brazil as well, people see Halloween holiday as an American holiday and like to imitate it, but it's not
Thanks, Gabby.
a part
There's
of the
the
culture.
there's the Day of the Dead that they celebrate in Mexico that isn't Halloween. It's actually, I believe, tomorrow that that date falls on. Which is somewhat similar, but definitely not the same. I think it's an American thing.
Quick explanation as those who are just jumping in and seeing, why is Nathan not riding the bike? Nathan was riding the bike last week. He is not riding a bike this week. Well,
the reason
I
I'm
almost
glad,
got
Nathan,
on the bike. I almost got on the bike, Dave.
I would have been really disappointed in you, to tell you the truth. Nathan's dealing with the back injury, right, Gabby? I mean, the best thing he could do is not ride today, and I know that's incredibly hard for you, Nathan.
Right.
Maybe. Right? Is it harder for anybody you've ever met to not ride, Gabby, than Nathan?
Only myself, I think.
Yeah.
So I understand what he's going through.
That's why you two are together, for sure. There's no question, Nathan, that you made the right call today. So thank you.
Yeah, it was close. It was close as whether or not I was going to, but definitely it is the right call. Still having trouble even getting out of bed. So it's, I think we're getting close though. I mean, there's a couple of days for those that are wondering, just some sort of a back injury, and I essentially haven't been able to really even walk. Well, I've been able to walk, but very chill, struggling around the house.
More of a shuffle, right?
Shuffle,
than a
yes,
walk.
more of a shuffle. Yeah. But we found some tactics, actually. We have found some tactics that
therapies, right?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, here and there. I've had to do some exploring of the different movements I could actually do that have opened up the hips and helped the back, and we've gotten there a little bit. So we're on the mend, and I'm actually, the last couple of days I've been a little bit like, is this going to get better? It's getting worse, it feels like, but it seems like we're heading in the right direction finally. So it's good. But okay,
stick with your plan. So
what are we at today, Dave?
So heading out, I believe we've got, it's Coast Crusher that we're doing, and I believe it's 42.7K for this group. You can see Gabby's already 6.8, 6.9 kilometers in. So there's around 2,000 meters of climbing, 200, sorry, Gabby, 200 meters of climbing out here today, 210 to be exact. So that being said, a lot of cool new things to take a look at today.
Yeah, it's really great. I think this is actually going to see what we saw yesterday in the broadcast. We actually saw from the Going Coastal, which went from
south.
It went from the east to like south, southwest, right, and into the jungle. Here we actually take on the jungle up front and then head over into the Going Coastal. So we're going to get a good look at both directions of the southern coast, which is pretty cool. And let's go ahead and highlight what we're actually going into, because we've actually entered it. We've left the jungle now, and Gabriela was nice enough to hurry up and get into the front end of the field. Actually, interesting enough, it looks like you're not with the leaders though, are you? You're 90th right now. I think you're in a chase group, and the front runners are a little ways up.
That must be the second group as far as I can see. They're just crossing the sprint banner, and we are the second group here. Got a nice pace. I'm happy with that group.
Gabby, what do you call this area for you? Like, I'm looking at this, and is this like Aztec, or what are you thinking here as far as the buildings go?
Aztec is actually pretty good description when
Not
you
bad.
see those forms.
Yeah, the
Must have
angles,
some
right,
sort of
Gabby?
cultural background.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know,
So,
Nathan, yesterday we were looking at we were talking about Sasquatch and the Pacific Northwest vibe where we were. I think, you know, that the vibe that I got from the second part that we went into, I think Caribbean. Does that make sense to you? Kind of islandy, with the music vibe from some of the ads that we saw that Zwift put together. It definitely has, to me, that kind of a vibe. Really, really cool with the additions, without
yeah, I
any
would
doubt.
say, yeah, Mediterranean. Someone else said Caribbean,
That makes sense.
South American feel for sure. I think the colors that you see on some of these houses, that the way that the houses were made in those areas came a lot from, I think, clay. That, like, the color specifically has to do with the clay that the houses were made from. A lot of times when you do see this darker red um, bricks or darker red formations around the way that it's being built with those stone, a lot of times I think it is because of the clay that is in that dirt that's being used in the way that it was built.
Well, hello to Sweet the cyclist, Michael Sweet. He has some advice for you on YouTube that I don't know that I'd take.
OMG, yeah, OMG. OMG now stands for old man Guerra.
Old man Guerra.
I
Right.
appreciate that
Yeah.
very much. And like that's actually
It was only a
becoming a
matter of
thing now.
time.
Even Anna is coming into chat, it looks like, and letting us know that that's the new name that we have acquired. So appreciate that, guys, very, very much.
I think Anna, though, the wise Anna Russell's agreeing with me that rest and recovery is the name of the game for you. So thank you, Anna. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Anna, we were talking about yesterday, was the one that really kind of uncovered the secret portal into the new world. So right now, what's amazing to me is that Gabby at 3.5 to 3.7 watts per kilo is not even out of breath when she speaks on her microphone. That's quite impressive. That says a lot about your fitness when this is not a casual pace for most folks. They'd be gasping for air. But
Gabby, what is this for this is, I mean, you're at 123 beats per minute, 3.5, 3.2 watts per kilogram. Gabby actually has interesting, out of all the athletes I've worked with, she actually has one of the most interesting heart rate zones I've ever seen. She kind of goes from like nothing, like 120s, 130s, or everything. 160s, 170s, and immediately, very quickly, comes right back down to those 120s and 130s. And so we've actually had a pretty hard time, not hard time, but we've struggled to find her zone 2 medium zones and like stay there. And we're still trying to figure out why we can't seem to get into them. Sometimes I'm wondering just because she either wants to just be like hammering or just chill. She doesn't like the in between. Like, I don't know if that's, if it's a desire thing or if it's really like hasn't been trained ever. I don't know, Gabby. What did you
sounds
take
like
on
a
that?
bike racer. Yeah, that sounds like a bike racer to me.
Well, I told you that I think my zone 2 doesn't exist. But I guess this is a good practice here, right? When you're able to talk while you ride, then that's kind of like an indicator that you're in your zone 2.
Yeah.
But like even me talking now, you can hear me a little bit out of breath. So yeah, the pace is okay. I've been doing a lot of bass. So the last days, right after Grand Prix, I just threw in some big hours at a steady pace, something like that, around 3 watts per kilogram. So I think that's also part of the training, Dave, that you were saying, oh, you're riding at that pace and not really out of breath. I think if you train that for many hours in volume, you get used to it a lot. So it's all the bass.
Well, you must have been really happy with your ride on Thursday at Zwift Grand Prix, Gabby. Saw a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
comments from folks cheering you on. That also, it has to feel great seeing the community get behind you. I saw you and Kristen Kolchinsky were receiving a tremendous amount of support. So great job, by the way.
And thank you, Dave. It was very much fun. I didn't think that I could have so much fun on the Alp, especially not on the race. But I had a lot of fun, and I think I'm learning to have fun when racing my bike, even if you want to race serious and you want to put out a good effort. But I think it's important to know how to enjoy it. And I did this last race. I'm so happy with the community. Like, I feel proud for all the women that were racing because everyone was just giving their best that they could in this day. Like, and even KK later on said that she didn't have a very good day, but she was just out there and giving her best. And that's what matters, right?
100%. There is no doubt that I think that the shining light in our community very well could be that group of women that you're racing with, because it's pretty rare, Gabby, in sport that you see a group being so competitive, but also supportive at the same time. And it really is, that's going to be one of the hallmarks with Zwift racing for sure. What have you got coming up for this Thursday then? I assume you're rearing to go.
Oh, well, I'm planning on keeping on training and racing as far as ZRL goes when that starts. But yes, I heard Swift Academy is starting soon. And that's definitely an aim for me this year. I've been wanting to do it since I started Swifting 2 years ago, but I was always so disorganized with my training and with my racing, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So after I had to marry my coach to be coached well. And now
do you get a
my
discount
training life
at
is
least,
better.
I hope?
I think the price went up, Dave.
uh, so, so Gabby, I'm taking a look at this group that you're riding with out here right now. What are the jerseys that you all have? This must be the Tour of Watopia jersey that you've all unlocked.
Yes, right. I think you unlock it as soon as you complete at least one of the stages,
Looks cool.
one of the routes, because you always have so many options. And that's a pretty cool souvenir to have, I think. I would like to know who is in that group, maybe here with me and is in chat. I don't know if there's anyone on YouTube following us right now. Maybe there are other people spread out. If you guys want to say hi in chat, would appreciate to know who's riding out there with us.
I'm curious, Nathan, have you heard of this team Stolen Goat? Yep.
No, I haven't heard
I
of
just saw
Stolen
them. Alex Lambert riding for Stolen Goat.
Goat. Huh.
The
No,
name is
haven't.
intriguing, I must
That
say.
is. That's a really interesting name for sure. You know, one thing to talk about a little bit is whether or not these are races or are they rides. I 100% like part of the vibe of this broadcast is specifically to make sure that it's known that these are rides that and you can race them if you want to. But I think in the community there's definitely a feeling of like, I don't know, like what is it about being amongst this many riders? Like when 500 people show up, and then you're like, I'm in the first group, and you're like, I'm gonna win amongst 500 people, but there's like no results screen even, right? Like, so there's this like, there's definitely a little bit of like differing opinions about what's really going on here when it comes to the tours of Watopia and the different tours that are out on Zwift for sure. I'd love to know what people's opinions are about that. We are watching chat. We can bring in all your comments as well. So let us know what you think there. It looks like a couple other questions coming in. Was it too late to put in our applications for the Lifetime Grand Prix? For those that are friends with us and know us, we had been thinking about applying for Lifetime Grand Prix. We had made the decision to, if we are going to do Lifetime Grand Prix events, we will do them as non-Grand Prix athletes, though. we may still do some of those events and attend some of them, specifically, the gravel events that would make sense for us, as well as sea otter, etc. But I don't think it was in the cards for making sense for us for next year to do them. And the commitment, once you are a lifetime Grand Prix athlete, is you kind of have to. You have to completely commit, and we just weren't ready for that full on commitment at this point in the year and the planning for next year. So, but it doesn't mean we won't be at some of those events. And I think part of the way in which we're treating that is we can go to those and get, like, strictly from a professional cyclist point of view. And Dave, you can maybe speak to this from what you've seen over the years and how this whole space has developed. The risk reward of doing the entirety of the thing, I think, like Gabriela especially, would have had an amazing season in the Grand Prix, most likely. I mean, her results so far are only getting better and better, but and maybe that could pay off as a Grand Prix athlete. But you can kind of get the same by doing, if you just picked which ones you were going to do, or maybe you did do the whole series of single events or 5 of them or something. And if you're on a podium at one of those, regardless if you're a Grand Prix athlete or not, you kind of still get the exposure without the necessity of spending 20 grand to 30 grand in order to go do them all. So does that, I don't know if that makes sense to you, Dave.
Oh, it completely does. And, you really have to look at a lot of things. I mean, if we're going to use Gabby as an example, which I don't know that that's even fair to Gabby right now. I mean, her results at the end of the season last year were phenomenal. And I just sort of want to compartmentalize that and set it aside. And then looking forward for Gabby, I mean, we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, the discussion has been about road stuff. And, we looked at Nadia Gantova coming out of Zwift and what she was able to do. And I 100% like your mindset. I would highly recommend that you this year go ahead and a la carte it. Go choose. If I was your advisor to you two, I'd need to know your budget. That would be really important to know how much travel you could do. And I see Sweet saying, come on out and do Sea Otter. Well, that's a good example of a legacy event in the United States. And I would highly agree with that. It's much like we're proud of our Zwift community. That might be the best example in the US of cycling community. You're going to have all of the different disciplines come together. They really do a tremendous job there. And it's a lifetime event now. So I'd highly recommend you go to Sea Otter. I was hoping, with the success that you had in Wisconsin, Big Sugar looks like another race that would be great for Gabby, without a doubt. I think Big Sugar might be the best one of all of them for Gabby. Yeah, I do. I think that her skill set, if you overlay it over the course and competition, that's probably the first one that she'll win. And I like my confidence for you, Gabby, because I already know you're going to win at that level. That's inevitable. It's just really going to be
chasing rainbow jerseys. Chasing rainbow jerseys will be interesting.
Yeah.
One thing. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. I just want to make one more point on that because I could go on forever. But I do really love the idea of Gabby doing Zwift Academy.
That was what I was going to say next, actually, Dave, is that is on the radar and 100% going to be happening. So go ahead.
It's going to be great. And Gabby, with that, one of the things that I really see in you is you're a positive force. You're a kind, positive warrior. And when you look at it, you're going to have some incredible opportunities. So, just sort of, you have to temper the enthusiasm a little bit coming into 2024. But, when you target these events, all of that will come after what's going to be an incredible Zwift Academy experience. And whether that turns into another step for you, or it becomes just an experience, either way, you'll come out of it a winner, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Alone the experience, I think, is so worth it. And one of my bigger goals that I see the necessity, I see a demand there, is just to inspire and encourage other women just step out and try. Because I'm not always positive. I'm not always sure of what I'm doing. And I've struggled a lot the last months. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to race Grand Prix out of fear.
Zwift Grand Prix. Zwift Grand Prix is what she's speaking of there.
Just Grand Prix, yeah. And then same with Zwift Academy. Because I have struggles with my eating disorder that I'm recovering and coming out of, with weight and that kind of stuff. And that just made me so insecure. And I see so many other women struggling, maybe not with the exact same problems, but struggling in the sense that it holds them back of just stepping out there and having fun and seeing what they can do and performing at their best and getting better.
Gabby, do you want to speak to what the start of your year was like? And the way, not just from the injury side of it's almost just sort of like what comes to my mind, her struggle. It's interesting because the injury, she's so strong when it comes to her own personal discipline physically for herself, that the injury is like minuscule in my mind compared to the mental and emotional struggle I saw her go through for what she thought she could do, what she thought she could take on. And if she wants to open up a little bit, just coming into the Wisconsin Off-Road Series, she won the state championship this year there. And she, in her first ever UCI race, got top 10s, but that would not have been a possibility whatsoever if she didn't overcome huge amounts of fear. And I don't know how far or what you want to aim at, Gabriela, as far as a specific race or a time or dates. But think about when we first came into the first Wars race, or going to Moab Rocks, or the first UCI race that we did. Each one of those had like therapy sessions in tears that you would call them, right, there, Gabby? And but then to be at this point where then at the end of the year, you're on the podium at a Lifetime Grand Prix event, you're like doing so well in the Zwift Grand Prix. So maybe, you just spoke about women knowing and taking, the opportunities to get out there and try new things and push themselves and know what of course, knowing what your boundaries are and not getting injured, you know what I mean? But at the same time, trying things and seeing how far you can go. Do you want to speak to your experience with that, Gabby?
Sure. So one of the things that come to my mind, we have the Vision team and the Vision website, and throughout the year we've been posting blog posts about most of the Wars races, the Wisconsin Off-Road Series races we've been doing. And I told every time a little story about the single race, because it's always in a different place. And there was always a pre-ride drama, as I call it, involved, which means me just crying on the side of the road, thinking, I am bad and I cannot do this. I can't ride my bike right now. And really struggling on the trails. And having Nathan on my side and him helping me and talking me through it just made my performance better as my emotional and psychology side started going along. Because they have to go together. You can't force your body to do something if your mind doesn't go there. And so one of my first races of the year, it was just a huge fear that I had to overcome, going through this rock garden for the first time in my whole life and not knowing what I'm doing. But you have to try. You have to trust the bike and the skills that you learned so far and so on. But it was every race. And I even said to Nathan, man, when's this pre-ride drama going to be over? And he was laughing and saying, oh, this is, it sounds like this is something you cannot control, but you decide. And I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, I want to stop the pre-ride drama. I want to have a different attitude on those races. And what is the root of my fear? Is it the root of failure? Is it the root of fear of injury? And I found out it was all of that. So it's just all together. But you can work through it. And then coming in to one of the last races of the Lifetime Grand Prix, which was in Schwammen, and I had this pretty cool result, as you also highlighted, Dave. One thing that I saw on the start line was a girl. She had a kit on, and on the back it said she did it because she believed, or something along those lines. And then I saw, wow, so many women just, I know I'm assuming something, but it's out of my experience. So many women, including myself, just struggle a lot with believing in themselves, or just bringing enough confidence to do something that involves performance, and doing well or not doing well, enjoying it, no matter what. And going into that race and watching all those girls just go for it, and even then, after a while, some didn't have the level to keep with the front group. They were just there and just giving their best and enjoying, and that's really inspiring to me. And that's why I want to be that inspiration also for others, as I get my experiences and results, or failures even. But I've been learning a lot this year, just through being out there racing mountain bike or Zwift. So that's my little story, I think.
Gabby, we just had Frederick say thanks for sharing in the chat, and I couldn't agree more with Frederick. I wanted to note that this world definitely rewards bravery. And when you look at it, like there's an athlete named Izzy King. I don't know if you had a chance to meet her or notice her while you were racing, Gabby, but she personifies exactly what you're talking about. She doesn't always win, that's for sure, but she is brave, and she tells her story the same way you're telling your story. And Izzy might be the most popular rider on the Lifetime series. I don't really know how to really judge that, to tell you the truth, but on the metrics of people who follow her and engage with her story, because her story is about being brave, not knocking down those limits that either you've put up for yourself or other people have put up for you.
And
either
Dave,
way, they're
sorry for interrupting you, but
no.
In that very race that I raced next to her most of the race. And even then it was so inspiring because she crashed. She got up and kept going. And all the time when when we were in the same group, she was so out of breath and so like fighting. And you could tell like she's struggling, but she keeps going. And at one point I even tried encouraging her, like, come on, keep going. But I don't know if she got it, but I always try to do that if I see someone like fighting hard. And that was like, I have so much respect for that because I know how it feels like. It's just so much easier to give up. But she was there just fighting even after the crash. So.
Well, I know you guys, Gabby, have a great platform with Vision, and I just encourage you to tell your story the way you're telling it right now. Honest, open, thoughtful, with a sense of humor. This is how you connect with people, Nathan, isn't it? For our Zwift community, you become truly, Gabby, it's going to be for so many of us. We're going to be on board for this journey next year. It's going to be incredibly fun. So, yeah, all of these things are so exciting, Nathan. And I am really, really proud of you, too, for being not on your bike today, which is, it's a crazy world when we're having to give people props for not riding. But, Nathan, you're the only person that actually I think I would do that for.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm glad that I didn't. I'm definitely glad that I didn't at this point. I'm sitting here.
I just got my Zwift set back up. I have kind of
we're gonna get
limited
Dave
space.
moving.
Well, I was already riding this morning.
Yeah?
I have got this hip flexor thing going on. I've been traveling so much. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a hip flexor before, but I hadn't. But
So you're
Yeah,
doing the knee
stretching and
bends. You're
riding.
doing that one
Yeah,
knee and
exactly.
push
Pulling the
forward
knee up to
bend.
your
Yeah,
chest
yeah,
is
yeah.
the stretch, the recommended stretch from Google is what I
Gotcha.
learned that.
Right now, I'm doing a lot of hip flexion specifically. It feels that I think one of the issues is from a PT perspective, everybody make sure that you're strengthening that core. And
That's exactly it.
the
Yep.
issue was I got so strong in the legs that the legs and the hips will start pulling those muscles. Like the whole muscular structure needs to stay in balance. And I'm getting a little bit older, and sure, discs will have little issues from overuse here and there. But if I would have been strengthening my core, most likely wouldn't have had this little bit of a bulge that's most likely going on in my lower discs here. And so the legs though and the glutes can pull on the lower back, and they can, if they get really really strong, and you're also in a really bad position, to maybe not bad position necessarily, but it's not necessarily the best position for making sure everything stays in place. So make sure you're strengthening those core muscle, everybody. I definitely I didn't completely neglect it this year, but it seems just enough that we had a little bit of an issue.
Listen, you're not alone. Taylor Finney, Matthew Vanderpool, lower back issues in this core.
Chris Froome as well.
Froome.
Just posted about it.
As a matter of fact, I think you could go on and on. Just about every cyclocross rider that's been successful ultimately pays a price with their lower back as well. So yeah, without any doubt, it sounds
torque.
like
it's that torque. Yeah.
Yeah.
With
And like you said, it's all about having that core there to be able to balance out all of that hard work you've been doing around your core. So at least you've got that figured out. That's for sure. Gabby, how's it going? They're starting to push the pace, it looks like, a little bit.
Yeah, there was a little push. We just passed through the roundabout in Watopia's desert, and they're going now into the other direction where we just came from. So we have 16K to go, and we did already 26.5K. The pace is okay. They push sometimes a little bit.
I saw a gentleman just this week completed 300,000 kilometers.
Yeah, Bacon.
On Zwift.
Bacon. He Tim Searle. He is the founder and the runner of the AHDR, the Aussie Hump Day Ride, and his thing was 100K a day, and I'm not sure if he's still doing 100K a day. Most likely, if he's at that 300,000 mark at this point. But he is one of the longest standing group ride members. Wednesday Hump Day Ride. He is absolutely phenomenal, and it's been the consistency. A little bit of a bragging point. I used to be the world leader when it came to most distance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was. This was a long time ago. Okay, and then I was training those first years, 2015, 2016, almost exclusively on Zwift, and that kept me in that spot. And it was me and Scotty Weiss. And then all of a sudden, this guy out of Australia just steadily, and I went outside to go ride more one summer. It was probably the summer of 2017. And then all of a sudden, I just there was no catching up anymore. Boom, he was just gone. And I think he's just been so consistent and been pretty amazing. So there was a cool top 10 list for a while, actually. I'm way off of that now because so many people have jumped in. And I'm not sure I don't know what second place is at this point. It'll be interesting to see if anyone wants to ever try and challenge that, but it's a pretty amazing feat to be at 300,000 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely mind-blowing. Once he took the lead with that kind of, if he really is knocking out 100K a day, 100 kilometers a day, I mean, yeah, he's not coming back, people.
No.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some comments. Let's look through the comments here. Earlier when we made the comment about it's not a race, Ruben Daunt says ranking equals race, general Zwift rule. Haha. Good to see Ruben, and I'd have to agree with you. Whenever there's any rank whatsoever,
not wrong. He's not wrong.
Dan Ziegler saying the same. We actually had G. Cordery. He came in and he's letting us know that Stolen Goat equals a British bike brand. Interesting enough. That's cool to see.
Kit, so it's cycle clothing.
Oh,
is what it is. Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
Nice name.
Yeah, and want to say also to those over in Great Britain. I actually saw they had a recent hill climb championship, I believe it was, or some sort of hill climb. It looked like race. Niall was there.
Lizzie Brooke was
Lizzie
second,
Brooke.
and Eiley Gardner won.
Yeah, Eiley Gardner looked like she had one of her best rides ever. So that was pretty cool to see. Looked like a lot of the Zwift community was hanging out there.
There's this young lady. I met her when she was probably 8, 9 years old. She came over for the Tour of California. If you went on YouTube, she does a pretty classic interview with Peter Sagan, where Peter, that was when he was eating the gummy bears after a finish, and she brought him some gummy bears, and they did an interview. Her name's Ruby Isaac, and
was she there?
She won the junior women. And
oh my gosh.
I got to say, it's pretty incredible to me because, if you're around sport long enough, you see people come and go, right, Nathan? I mean, it's a revolving door. People get interested, and then a few years later, maybe they're here, maybe they're not. But with kids especially an 8-year-old, they have an interest in cycling. To see someone stick with it for what must be now, well, that was the 2015 Tour of California. So that's 8. So she's probably 15 or 16 years old
she's
now.
become like a personality in the whole space.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She had the trainer
She's sponsored
rides,
by
right?
Trek and SRAM. And
she would do the roller rides up front, right? That was one of the things she was doing.
Really well known for those tricks on the rollers.
Yeah. Got it. Cool.
She's a great kid. So
talk about an event bringing it all together, kind of at this. That's so cool to see.
British Hill Climb Championships are the glue that holds this whole thing together.
They are really into we've done some of Red Bull kind of in America did the more flashy side
San
of
Francisco,
it.
Right.
They took the concept and then made it into this Red Bull event, which is cool. But I think it has a little bit more of its grassroots. I think over in the UK, it feels like.
There's an authenticity to British racing that it's undeniable, and the time trialing has been a thing there for all of time. So at least as the bicycle has existed, but you combine a classic hill climb and time trial, and you got yourself. I'm sure it's a special day, without any question. Gabby, have you raced on 3? Well, actually, now that I think about it, I don't know that you ever have raced in Europe or South America before, outside of virtually?
Good question, Dave. I haven't raced in Europe at all.
You did a hill climb race.
True.
Yeah, you did that hill climb race. You did one.
Thank you for fact checking, Nathan.
Her and the other Rose Beast Mode, Pia Kummer.
From Rose Beast Mode.
Yep, they both did the same one in Stuttgart.
Yeah, I lived in Stuttgart, and there is a annual hill climb challenge, about 5 minutes long. Yeah,
she took me to that climb, I think, on the first ride we ever did together in Germany, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, and this woman, you guys, okay, on the mountain bike, kind of sketched or whatever, we got on the road, and she was on, I don't know, one of her parents' mountain bikes or something. And all of a sudden we're descending, and I'm like, car doors open sometimes, and people could pull out, because I'm like, I'm gonna lose my girlfriend the first ride we're on here. She was just like a daredevil on. If it's on pavement, you guys, she don't care. She just wow.
Well, she's a skateboarder, so that you build up those nerves.
Taking instinct there.
Right.
I remember I talked to her even. I was like, "Hey, babe, you're kind of freaking me out. I don't want to lose you." Like, whoa.
Yeah, but you were right. That street was kind of sketchy.
So, Gabby, this is going to be maybe the toughest question of all, because I remember when Nathan went over the first time to Germany, he was blown away. He was telling me all about the food and all the things that he had discovered over there. How have you enjoyed Wisconsin culture and the food and all of that? Are you adjusting okay? Are you eating a lot of cheese?
The cheese is awesome for sure. The whole dairy production here, I really much appreciate when I visit different places that I have, that I can try the local produce. And Wisconsin is not only big and good with dairy products, but also with some other produce like potatoes that grow around here. And Wisconsin reminds me actually a lot of Germany, and that's not a coincidence because it has a lot of German immigrants that came here. And Nathan's grandma was showing us the other day a newspaper from many years ago was completely in German, and even in the old German writing still. So it's a little hard to read, but there is so much culture that is from Germany here that some things are really familiar. And even there is a supermarket chain that is in Germany that is here as well. So many
Is that
things are
Aldi?
familiar. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, America is America, so there are differences for sure in culture and ways of living and buildings, especially the houses without fences. It's definitely a thing that sticks out the most.
Oh,
That's not very common in the other countries I'm from, Germany or Brazil. It's a lot of
well,
freedom.
well, I really found, Gabby, when I was in Ireland and all of Europe for that matter, the concept of private property or owning land is at the very, very forefront in people's minds, right? There's so much pride in the land that you own. And that's why you see the dry stone fences. You know how hard it
Yeah.
is to make those fences out of stone, but the farmers are doing that because they want to be very clear what's their land. And I can understand that, to be honest. In
So-
Wisconsin, there
Especially
is
in
so much land that they don't need to sweat that. You know, when you have 800 acres for 2 cows, you're not so worried.
Yeah, the
Spread
space
out.
thing was definitely something that Gabby has mentioned quite a lot when it comes to Germany. In Brazil, there was a lot of space, though, but definitely a little bit different. Gabby, you did race also. But going back to the question about places that you've raced, getting the introduction to the bike. I mean, you were a skateboarder. We talked a lot about that in the last Tour Watopia broadcast, but then the introduction to cycling maybe is a little. I know we're talking a lot about your racing career, but I think a lot of people wondering like, where did you get into that? And your intro was really in mountain biking, actually, interesting enough. But and I know that sounds weird with the thing that we just talked about of being like freaked out by the mountain bike, but mountain biking in Brazil is completely different. At least where she was from in Curitiba is totally different than North American mountain biking. I mean, it is almost like gravel racing, actually, is what it seems like.
wild.
Rather. So go ahead. Why don't you talk to that a little bit, Gabby?
So if you guys are into the mountain bike scene, you probably have heard of the Brazil Ride, which is also every year a mountain bike stage race, and many riders from across the world come race it. It's something like the Cape Epic, something similar. And also, there is a pretty well-known athlete, Henrique Avancini. He raced mountain bike World Cups around the world. He's Brazilian. So there's a little bit of roots in Brazil.
Oh, hold on one second, Gabby. 1 second.
Yeah.
Your NDI for some reason, the connection for some reason is giving us a little bit of trouble. You have to wait just a minute. It'll probably come
Okay.
back to us for just 1 second, and then we can hear the history of mountain biking. Might refresh your feed here real quickly.
Is she talking about the Brazilian who wore the Red Bull helmet, Nathan?
Yes, yeah, that would be Avicini. He just retired, actually. He had his last World Cup just recently. I think it was at Mount St. Anne was actually the last one that he did. Gabby, I think your connection's good to go now.
All right. You just said talking about the history of mountain biking in Brazil, and it just reminded me of my grandpa was telling me when he was young, all the roads that we know around our city, my home city, Curitiba, which is in the south of Brazil. And my grandpa was young. He was studying to be an engineer.
1 second, Gabby. I'm sorry. I don't know why that's happening.
Sorry,
but,
guys.
Yeah, it's not you.
Yeah, maybe try killing your second. If only one feed. I only need one feed from you. It might be confused that we're getting two. That might have something to do with it.
Which one?
Kill preview probably, and we'll see what happens there.
Nils tried to wave at Gabby as they went by.
Make me
and
lose
it
the
was just
group.
Yeah, just lose the group. Just lose the group. So, go ahead, Gabs.
Okay. Yeah, so my grandpa was studying to be an engineer, and he wanted to go to visit different factories around the city. And he always took his bike with self-built gears, because at that time it didn't exist. So yeah, kind of built his own thing, and he just rode his bike around a lot, and it was all kind of gravel. And after years around that city, just mountain biking became more popular because people just started going on group rides, because we have so much off-road roads, and it's all up and down, and it's, like Nathan said, a little bit more like gravel, not as technical, not many single track options, and it's just wild. You just go for like a tour in the middle of the country, and it's beautiful to just see the landscape. So it's just so much fun to just go and explore, like you could do when horseback riding. You take your mountain bike and go, and that's how I started. I found a group and got a mountain bike and started just riding with him and enjoying it more and more, and then riding more hours, and eventually riding over 100K every week, and just exploring the area, having fun. But like I said, it's not flat. It's a lot of elevation gain, so many climbs, very, very steep and rocky, which makes the workout come naturally. So it's a lot of fun mountain biking in Brazil. In general, I visited other places, not many, but most of the places are more like double track, open gravel roads. But
Was it there in Brazil?
Everything else than boring. So it's totally worth, like, if any of you are planning a trip to Brazil, grab a mountain bike or a gravel bike and go explore for sure. But be aware of the wild dogs, that they can be pretty dangerous. They're like just dogs that are left somewhere, and they just don't like people on bikes, and they run after you pretty often. So
Gabby, did you start to realize
every ride? We don't see that here at all, which I'm thankful for.
Go ahead, Dave.
Gabby, did you start to realize as you were getting into mountain biking that you had a talent for the sport, or were you just doing it for fun and
Can you not hear
a way
him?
to?
Gabby, can you hear him?
Very, very quiet.
It's okay.
Oh, interesting. Can you
I
hear
was just
me,
going to
Gabby?
ask about whether she realized that she wanted to race right away, or if it was something that took her a while to realize that she had a real talent for it. Sometimes
I see what's going on here. It's because of the. You might have to turn that back on, so you can't hear him.
Very quiet.
Interesting.
Or was quiet too, but it could.
Turn that back on and see what happens. Interesting. We're about to
Crohn's
finish
disease
up the ride
warrior.
Here. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a
Dave.
scene. There's a scene in a movie called American Flyers where the protagonist gets chased by a dog that they nickname Eddie after Eddie Merckx, and they joke about that's some good interval training to get chased by a dog. And it is Crohn's disease warrior, one of the Dragons riders, that was saying that getting chased by those dogs would give you definitely some extra watts out there. Not an advised training technique, though.
Yeah, Gabby did. Can you hear now, Gabs?
Very quiet.
But you can hear.
Can't hear what he said.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's too bad. Well, you're about to finish up your ride, anyways. Dave, what was the question that you were going to ask? I can.
Yeah, just did Gabby realize right away that she wanted to race when she first started riding, or did it take her a while to get that bug?
Race right away?
In Brazil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of got into it because it was just part of the program. Like there were racing series around town, and with the group that I was training or riding with, they would always go. So they invited me, and I started going. First in like the easier category, and I upgraded after a couple races to the medium one, and then to the pro one. But it's very like a very family environment, and it's not like super serious racing or anything. There's no prize money involved. It's just really for fun and training. And the cool thing is that you just challenge people around the area, and then you just get to know the community around there. And big chases around Strava segments as well. So it's just a big fun with the people in that area for sure. And when you meet them in races.
Well, we're heading back into the same section of course here. What do you think about this section of course, Gabby? I mean, this kind of Aztec Inca whole section and the sprints. That's another thing. Like, what do you think of the course as far as a race course goes?
I have to say I wouldn't really like to race that course because it's so flat. But and the sprints are so long. Look at this one. It like takes forever. I think it can be good for like heavier riders maybe. But pretty flat. I like that throughout the whole road, the scenery changes a lot. So like here, it's more like the Inca, South American culture looking like. And then in other areas, it's more like wood and more like Canada. And other areas are like more jungle. So I like the variety.
I think the audio issue is your thing might have unplugged a little bit, hon. Actually, that might be all it is. Yeah. Well, they're about to finish up here. 2K to go. They're going to do it in under an hour. We were concerned that wouldn't that there would be this extra long ride, hour and a half. But they're finishing up 42K here pretty quickly. It looks like
they
they're going to
stayed
start
motivated.
ramping up.
Definitely stayed motivated out here today. I think that's
That
why
was a
most
good
of these
pace.
folks.
Very steady. But I have to say, yesterday I joined one of those rides, the A group for the longer version. And I wanted actually to do more like a chill recovery. But like we know, this often ends up being like a race pace ride. I wasn't looking to race, but I was just wanting to stay with the front group. But the front group was going really on race pace. And then I was kind of motivated to just see if I can get maybe the course record. So that's how it went. But here it's a pretty good steady pace for that second group, I believe, with many riders, so lots of drift too.
Yeah, recovery days quickly turn into not so much recovery days.
Sneaky gain day.
Yeah, sneaky gain day.
What's the story with BL13 tomorrow, Nathan? I see you've uncovered another gem.
Yeah, so tomorrow BL13 does something that looks a lot like tiny races. It's back-to-back sprint races essentially. So, and one of the things that we're going to do there is there's a lot coming up when it comes. First of all, just a little bit of a change up to covering the entirety of the community, and BL13 they've put a lot of work in. They're already, is this series number 10? I want to say of this, or I mean, there's been a lot of them. They're on race number 3 and 4, or I think it is. So we'll be covering the BL13 through Wednesdays for quite a while, I think, through the rest of the series. And one of the things, though, there is because the category of the A category tends to attract a lot of the top-end esports athletes, too. And so we really want to do some testing is what we're going to be doing there as well. So there's going to be some cool stuff we're going to be doing with the broadcast. We're going to be bringing in some of the athletes. And I think it's also kind of cool, something when it comes to broadcast that we haven't necessarily seen before, where we are perhaps able to do a little bit more interviews and get some interaction with the athletes because there is a break in between the races. And then it's just high intensity action. So it'll be really interesting to see how that ends up playing when it comes to broadcast and racing. Looks like there's a little. Are you going to sprint with these guys, Gabby? You going to give it a go? What's happening here?
Yeah, we're about 400 meters.
They're already ramping up so hard.
Here we go. Gabby's going.
So answering the question, is it a ride or a race? Well, here we are.
Come on, right through them. Right through them. 10 watts per kilogram. Gabby's giving it there. She's but no power up. They all saved their power ups. It looks like. Nice one.
The chicken eating breakfast
Yeah, we
comes to
put the
mind.
head down. 1 hour 52,
Pecking
187,
away. Yeah.
42.6. Nice. This is that section, of course, where I saw that bird, I think. There's like some sort of bird here that I don't even
Like
know what.
a
It's got like
yeah,
the longest tail I've ever seen. You know, we have a lot of
like a bird of paradise or something. I like crazy looking.
yeah, yeah. I've never seen that one before. And, you know, we have all these little fun, you know, the lizards. We got those giant dragons, like little, what are they called? Those little dragons.
Ge-
Komodo?
Geckos or
Are they Komodo? Are those, what kind of lizards are those?
kimono dragons,
They're
maybe.
not Komodos,
I'm
are
still
they?
stuck on Sasquatch, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
I
That's a
mean,
mind blower.
there's so many of them, like all these really cool little Easter eggs that you can find out there. And if you do, bring them in. We want to chat about them for sure
Yeah.
during the broadcast.
You know who's got to be the most bummed of all is Kappa. He has lost his crown as
That's
the
what I
most
thought
unique.
about. That's
right.
exactly what I thought
Poor
about,
Kappa.
actually.
Yeah, yeah. He's no longer the belle of the ball.
Yeah, because now we've got, I mean, the Sasquatch has definitely taken, I think, all of the Easter egg
The
or
thunder, right?
the
I mean, like
thunder.
that's pretty
Yeah,
exciting.
for sure. Well, thanks everybody.
Gabby, had you heard
Go
of
ahead.
Sasquatch
Go ahead,
before?
Dave.
Gabby,
Not
do you know what
under
Sasquatch
that
is?
name. It was very unfamiliar. I didn't know what it is.
Uh-huh.
But then
That's
under
pretty unique to
Yeti, I kind of knew was more familiar, and because we saw it on the Up to Zwift before, there is like
right.
a sign in
A
French.
Yeti on right,
Yeti, yeah.
right. But in Europe, they don't really the construct of this type of creature doesn't really exist. There's not one cruising around in the Alps, I don't believe, by legend.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, that's another more North American thing.
I mean, we have like movies about
Halloween
Yeah.
and Sasquatch we've
it. Like,
identified.
we have like entire movies. Meet the Hendersons. I mean, right? Like,
right. Yeah, it's
there's an entire.
it's an industry, to be honest. There's
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
shows about it. There's
Right?
Yeah.
there's a lot.
We were actually at a bike race, and I think it freaked Gabby out. We went to a hotel, we brought the whole family or whatever, and we turned on just regular American television, and there was an entire channel. A channel. It wasn't just a one-time half-hour
all
show.
they show
It was
is
just
people hunting
one-
for Sasquatches.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, Dave. It was the craziest thing. I couldn't believe it. It was. Remember that? The Sasquatch show? It was like the Sasquatch
too much.
channel. It was too much. And all it was episode
It
after
was too
episode
much.
of like this crew that would like essentially it was a crew that would look for people who had claimed to see Sasquatches, and then they would go into like CIS mode. They would go into go and supposedly, you know, looking for where it may have been, and they would like reenact what it might have looked like and what the size of it was.
Using
Could it have been
sonar.
one? Yeah, it was like,
Right.
oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? And it actually hooked us. It hooked me and the boys a little bit. Like they got
Well, just
so
the
into it, like, really?
ridiculousness of it,
Really?
where you're
They-
like,
you
what
know.
is wrong with these people? Well, that's your welcome to America moment, Gabby. Those
Yeah,
kind of.
right.
They don't do this in Europe, as they say.
That's
So, well,
what
we'll
that
be back.
town's all about. That's what that town is all about in this expansion. If you want to know why that town exists, you're not from America. That's why, right there.
Now you know. All right, well, it sounds exciting, Nathan, for tomorrow. Gabby, thanks again for sharing your story today. That is not only interesting, but one that really makes us want to root for you. That's for sure. So
Thank
keep
you,
up your
Dave.
great
Yeah.
efforts.
Yeah, it's been really
And-
good. Hey, everybody, we will, as Dave said, we'll be back for the BL13 races tomorrow. It's going to be short and quick, I think. Like, you know, those races, I think they last about, I want to say 10 to 15 minutes max each, maybe even shorter, but there is a little break in between where we'll be able to like hang out, chat about what's going on, and then look forward to the next one. That'll be scheduled real quick. We'll also get it up on Zwift Power. We do, for those that might be new to the channel, we do, for anything that's attached to an event that we're doing here, you can find what we are streaming on Zwift Power, but then of course you can also find the scheduled broadcast here on Zwift Community Live. We will be scheduling out the entirety of the Zwift Racing League today for the next round, and we will be scheduling out the rest of the BL13. So that'll be looking forward to what we'll be doing on Tuesdays. And the next Z Racing Series will also be getting up on the channel here. And the USA Cycling Series that is coming in December. So there's a lot that's going to be coming into the live tab here on our YouTube channel. But we have been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can hit that follow button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment, like, it helps a ton. And we'll see y'all tomorrow for BL13. Dave, thanks so much. It was really great. And Gabby, that was awesome. And thanks to all the viewers that came in and chatted with us. We appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed
Thanks.
Tour of Watopia, Coast Crusher, stage number 5. If you haven't done it yet, go out and check it out. It's a lot of fun. Dave, see you tomorrow.